Let's start with the fact that we know that vaccines are safe and effective, and that over the past 50 years, more than 150 million lives have been saved around the world because of vaccines. Our biggest problem right now is that there is too much misinformation about
Mm.
vaccines, and that is making some parents unnecessarily frightened about vaccinating their children. We have a tremendous amount of data that shows that the vaccines that are recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics in this country are going to keep your kids from getting what could be very serious diseases.
Well, something else we heard from the president-elect yesterday was that he does not like vaccine mandates, which obviously we think about a lot when it comes to the required vaccines for children to attend school. What would happen if those were to go away?
Well, we can already see in many states that we are getting below what we would consider community immunity. We used to call it herd immunity, but we're trying to call it
Mm.
community immunity. For example, measles, which is extremely contagious, extremely deadly. You need 95% of people in a community to be vaccinated to make sure that no spread can get going. And we already see in many states that we are a little bit below that 95% mark. We're at more like 90% nationwide. So school mandates are one way to have a place where we make sure that children are vaccinated and that other children are not put at risk because they're unvaccinated kids going to school with them.
Well, and one vaccine we've heard a lot about in particular is the polio vaccine. RFK Jr. on the Hill yesterday seemed to suggest that he is supportive of it. Donald Trump says we're not going to lose it. How important is it that that is true, that people continue to be vaccinated against polio?
You know, I think for anybody who was alive and terrified when polio was around, my father is among those people. And he can't believe, and I don't think most of people that age can believe that we would ever for a second let up on the polio vaccine. One reason that you don't see any of the terrible outcomes of polio is because we are all vaccinated these days.
Well, of course, when we consider what would fall under RFK Jr.'s remit if he were to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, it's not just about vaccinations. There's obviously a number of other issues that pertain to public health, and Donald Trump has talked about some of the good ideas he sees RFK having in other arenas, including, for example, thoughts around food and nutrition and additives in our food. Can you weigh in on some of these other ideas that RFK has put forward and whether any of them, in your mind, do have merit in terms of thinking about better public health?
Sure. Well, to be clear, I am not a nutritionist, but I am familiar
Mm-hmm.
with some of the concerns about ultra processed foods. I think that an examination of our food supply, trying to make people educated about what is important for nutrition. I mean, it is kind of stunning that 70% of our food supply now is considered having at least some ingredients associated with ultra processed food. So I think that is something that I think many public health and health professionals could get behind. But there's certainly a lot of concern about any misinformation spreading about things like vaccines or things like fluoride. I mean, if you look at any list of what the big public health accomplishments were between 1900 and 1999, when life expectancy went up so much in this country, you're going to see vaccines at the top. And then you're also going to see fluoride. And by the way, you'll also see family planning, which is something I've spent a
Yeah.
lot of my career working on.
Well, and in our final 2 minutes here, I do want to talk to you about that because RFK Jr. has actually faced backlash in some conservative circles for his more pro reproductive rights views that he has held in the past. Just quickly here, what is the relationship between reproductive health access and public health more widely?
Well, we know that when women can make decisions about their methods of birth control, that's absolutely essential to health. And of course, access to abortion is important for wanted pregnancies as well. The only way we can have maternal health in this country is to have access to the full range of reproductive health care.
And do you believe that the pivot we have seen from RFK Jr. After he has become the nominee, talking less about abortion rights, might translate into actual more restrictions on reproductive health?
I hope not, but we know that we do have an administration where a lot of people have very concerning attitudes towards abortion and also towards contraception.